My spirit is full. I just, as you know, came back from a much needed vacation, which was phenomenal. Went with my best friend on a cruise, and we went to the Bahamas and then Mexico. We just had a phenomenal time. So, like I said, it was much needed. I really felt like I got to rest because I got to step away. I don't get to do that very often because I mean, as you know, we work jobs, and we work like jobs within the community. So you're always sort of like juggling a lot of things and making sure things run, and always having to like, jump in and sort of like, give a helping hand, which is definitely a privilege, but it can be very exhausting. Yeah. So I felt it was so necessary to take a vacation, and not just in the sense where I'm like, I'm just gonna go out of town, but like I didn't even use my phone. And that was something that I was really like grateful for. Like I had to put my phone on airplane mode. I couldn't answer emails or text or calls or anything like that. So it felt like I got to reset, and now I feel like, okay, I'm back. I got to jump back into everything like, full speed, but I feel like I got like a good,
absolutely,
like a recharge.
You needed that balance, you needed that space to kind of, I mean, especially you do so much. I mean, not only do you contribute to our community, giving back and, doing the things that you do that we're going to get into, but I mean, just, you're always moving your body. You know what I mean? Dancing. I mean, that's a lot, So, I mean, I'm pretty sure you got to go dance and have some fun and have a good time, but you got rest. Right. Like, as a creative, that's so necessary, I bet you have that energy to pour back into, what you want to do now.
I definitely feel that way.
Yeah.
And like you said, like I do use my body, and it is good to like, of course we dance, we have fun, we dance. There was obviously music around us that we dance to, but it's a different thing when you're not dancing for a project or having to like sort of get your mind in a certain performance space. Yeah. It was nice to just let go.
Yeah, of course.
And to just sort of like, wake up when we wanted to, and eat when we wanted to.
Of course.
And dance when we wanted to.
Of course.
So yeah, it was nice. It was really beautiful.
That's what's up. Yeah. I'm glad you had a good time. Yeah. I'm glad you got to find some balance and unplug. But welcome back home.
Thank you.
Let's start at the beginning. Let's start at the genesis. You do so many great things. First, I want to say I appreciate your contribution to our community and our culture. Where did it all start? When did you fall in love with this thing called hip hop? This moving your body and dancing and just being a creative. When did you discover that you had this voice and this gift and everything that you embody?
Okay. I honestly believe like the creativity always lived inside of me. As I feel like it's just a part of my makeup. And my family's very creative. And I feel like Black people are just innately creative.
Of course.
So it definitely isn't all me. But when I started to sort of engage in a particular like creative medium, I was young. Dancing was something I definitely can identify was the first thing that I sort of tapped into. I was always moving as a kid, like really, really young, just moving my body, doing just weird stuff, silly stuff. When I heard music, I had to move. I would be so captivated by like musicals and film, television, like music videos. I would just be sort of like, mesmerized, and I would mimic what I saw and all those things. So anyway, my mom put me and my sister in like I call it the introduction to dance, which is ballet, tap, jazz.
Oh, that's fire.
Everybody always that's like the very first step I think a lot of dancers take, is their parents put them in one of those three or all three. Yeah. So we did that, and my mom was a single parent. So growing up, it was my mom and then the 4 kids. Okay. So for her to be able to put us in a dance class, that was a struggle, and she worked really hard to like find something that was affordable, but again allowed my sister and I to learn how to express ourselves even more. So we took like ballet, tap, jazz, And I loved it. I just always loved to dance. And I feel like my sister was just kind of like, we just did stuff together all the time. I don't know if dance at that time was necessarily her passion, but we just always did stuff together. Yeah. So we did that together. And that's that's the start, I guess. Okay. And then like that, we did that maybe, I don't even know for how long, not very long at all, because we moved around a lot too as a kid. We never stayed in like one home or one part of town for. And you're from Cincinnati? I'm from Cincinnati, but I lived like all over. We even lived in Covington, Kentucky for a short period. Yeah, like growing up, it was like stability was kind of a hard thing to have. But that's okay, because I felt like my family unit, like that was always home. Like all of us together was always home, and that was what I could count on. But where we lived was just kind of like every year we were somewhere else. So we did that for a little while. I think I was like 4 or 5, maybe 5, 6, something like that. Did that for a little while, and then we moved, so we didn't end up going back to that studio, which was owned by like 3 sisters in Kentucky. And I remember like this vividly too. My mom, we would take the bus to the dance class, and it would be in the evening time. And then after the class, every time after the class, we had to wait like an hour for the bus to go home, and we would walk to Lee's. Like which is like near the dance studio. We walked to Lee's and eat food, and then we would get on the bus. So I remember that, like, that was a part of the routine. Going to dance class and then going to get chicken afterwards.
Yeah, Lee's Chicken. Shout out to Lee's Chicken. My mom used to work there. Shout out to Lee's Chicken.
Yeah, shout out to Lee's Chicken. But yeah, moved around. And so when I had the opportunities to, like, grasp onto dance, it was always sort of, like, I don't want to say random, but it sort of felt like that. Because, like, my mom would sign us up for stuff like we did, like praise dance at a church. We'd do that for a little while, and we ended up moving again. And then I remember we did a lot of like the dancing where I got to like explore happened while I was in school. So we went to this private school called Eden Grove Academy. It's closed down now. But,
Eden Grove? I went to Eden Grove.
No, you did not. You're a liar.
I swear,
Nobody ever knows what I'm talking about.
I went to Eden Grove. Maybe I was in preschool or kindergarten, but I did go to Eden Grove.
How long? For how long?
It was like maybe like a year.
Okay.
Maybe a year, yeah. Then from there, I went to Pleasant Hill. But I went to Eden Grove for sure.
I love that you went there. You knew exactly what I was talking about.
I definitely know. Wow, that's crazy. You just unlocked a memory.
That's crazy. That's a special place. That was like a real special place.
I think I have that yearbook too.
Do you? Oh my God. I'm still like friends with the people that I went to school with.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I'm not. But
well, preschool is different.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Okay, go ahead. Continue.
No, that's really wild. We'll have to talk more about that.
Yeah, for sure.
But I went to Eden Grove.
Wow.
So we left public school. I went up like 3rd grade was like the last year I was at public school, and then we were in Price Hill, I think, at this time, going to this school called Quebec Heights. And we left that, and so 4th grade I started going to that private school, Eden Grove. We got scholarships, so we went to Eden Grove. So this school was like the first school that we got to stay in for like an extended amount of time, for me and my sister at least. So this is 4th grade, and at Eden Grove I think is where I really got to play like creatively, and that creativity was strongly encouraged by the teachers, by the staff, because we were, Eden Grove, it was poor. Like that school had like no resources. But it was such a phenomenal school, and the teachers really cared about the students and the work that they did. So what they allowed us to do all those years that I was going there, so this is 4th grade to 8th grade, and it stopped at 8th grade. They allowed us to create our own extracurricular activities. So after school, my classmates and I were just like gathering together in one of the teachers' classrooms and formed our own dance team. Like that's where like a lot of it, like the creativity like flourished. Because we were making up our own dance routines. And our teacher, who had a background in dance, she would sort of like lead us, like, with stretching and certain things like that. But she really allowed us to make up our own stuff. And she wasn't the only teacher. Like all of the teachers that I encountered there were so adamant about just giving us the space to explore. And I think that was just such a gift. Because where else do you get to do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially at a private Christian school.
Yeah.
Like, I think the beauty of it was that it was so underfunded that the teachers had to, like, the teachers were creative in their own right, because they were finding ways to support the students on their own dime and making sure that we got everything that we needed as young learners with young minds. We got the best ingredients, the best information, and that was by their leadership. So being at Eden Grove, I really got to see that how my creativity could flourish. And I didn't know that what we were doing was choreography. We were just saying, we getting together and make up dances, and then we got to perform those dances at like special events. So like chapel on Wednesdays, we got to like present the choreography that we made up, or during like the Christmas performance, we got to like dance, and it wasn't just dance. We were like doing all kinds of stuff. We were rapping, we were making up songs, we were just art. Like, it was just, they just allowed us to do all this stuff, and believe it or not, like I said, like, I'm still friends with a lot of the students I went to school with. Most of those students have grown to become artists. Wow. Yeah, it was just really beautiful, because a lot of us got our creative start at Eden Grove with teachers that really cared about us, who said, you don't have to stop what you're doing. Like, the thing that you like isn't something that you have to throw aside. You can actually pour into this and discover more about yourself. So I credit that time there to the choreographer, the dancer, the artist I am now. And then I remember going to high school. So you graduate 8th grade, you go to high school, and I decided, I'm gonna try something new. I've been dancing all this time. I'm gonna try something new. And my sister is a 1.5 years older than me. So Chanel went to high school first, obviously, and she played basketball. Loved basketball, flourished in basketball. Like, she found her thing. So when I went to high school, I was like, I'm gonna try basketball. Been dancing all this time. I'm gonna try something new. Quickly realized, like, it wasn't for me. It was not for me at all. I love the sport. I love and respect basketball so much. I'm a fan. But like, playing on as a team sport, I was like, it's different. It's levels. There's definitely levels to it. And I was like, oh yeah, like, this is not my lane, like, at all. And it just made me more hungry to get back into dance. And then my friend Nigel, who also was a student at Eden Grove, I remember we were on Facebook, just messaging each other on Facebook, and I was telling him how, like, I wanted to dance. I want to do hip hop dance specifically, because obviously growing up, like, we were introduced to, like, the ballet, tap, jazz, praise dance, African dance too, like, all these different things, because we would just randomly take classes whenever my mom could make it happen. But what I was also seeing at the same time was like more films coming out that were showcasing real hip hop street dance. So like break dancing and like industry level choreography, things like that. And like movies like Step Up, all those things. So I was seeing that stuff at the same time. And I was like, I want to do that. Like, I want to do that kind of dance, because that just spoke to me. So I remember telling Nigel over Facebook, like, I want to get into hip hop dance. Oh wait, let me take some steps back. I told my mom I wanted to do hip hop dance first. And she was like, okay, well, I'll find something. My mom's always been such a strong supporter, like, always. Whatever we wanted to do, she's always been like, she rooted us on. And her favorite like tagline to say is like, figure it out. So even if she's like, if we've ever wanted to do anything, she's like, figure it out. But she's always around to like help us whenever we need it. Yeah. So I remember going to her and I said, I want to dance, I want to do hip hop dance. She's like, okay, we'll figure it out. We're gonna find something. But of course, I finished out the basketball season. But as I'm playing basketball, my mom is like looking for dance studios, and we're visiting dance studios, and they're all claiming to offer hip hop dance. But really, they were offering jazz funk and calling it hip hop dance, which is what a lot of studios do. Studios that also don't necessarily understand the history of hip hop and the culture that is hip hop, because it's not just one element. There's a whole suite of elements. But anyway, they were not offering authentic hip hop dance, the dance that I was being exposed to, and essentially the dance that we were doing when we were young and at Eden Grove, but we didn't even know to call it that either. Because again, we were watching music videos and watching movies, like our favorite movies, and making up this choreography, but didn't have like a name for it. Anyway, we went to all these studios, didn't find what I was looking for, and I remember talking to Nigel about it over Facebook, and then he mentioned Elementz. He's like, yeah, come to Elementz, I danced there. And I was like, okay. So we went one day after school, I think it was after basketball practice, and I remember walking into that dance space and immediately knowing I was where I was supposed to be.
Wow.
Like I felt like the heartbeat. Like I just felt like the music was playing. It felt like it was like pouring into me. I felt like I could just feel every like just electricity in the room. I remember looking at one corner, and there were people breakdancing. In another corner, people were in the mirror working on like cleaning choreography. But this was like not just, it was just different. It was just like real deal, like hip hop street dance that I was looking for. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, okay, this is what I've been looking for all this time. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, I've been at Elementz, like since I was a teenager.
So you were an actual student of Elementz. Mm-hmm. Wow, yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. So you grew up in there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Wow,
yeah.
That's deep. Mm-hmm. That's deep. So kind of like I heard a lot. There's a lot of ingredients in there. So, it seems like, what I know, I don't know everything, but what I do know about you is that you are a spiritual person. Spirituality means a lot to you. And it seems like you come from a spiritual background, especially at a place like Eden Grove. So you got the spiritual background. You get introduced to Elementz. You know what I mean? How does when it comes to like community and spirituality and and dance, how did all these things how did they end up shaping you and molding you to where you are now, to where you're now a person that helps maybe younger people develop and dance, and also that's a spiritual path too. Like you're developing connection and you're being your authentic self. So how does spirituality and community and being an educator and all these things, ingredients, kind of your past and kind of make you who you are right now? Does that make sense?
No, it does. That's a beautiful question.
Yeah.
I'll say that dance was definitely the vehicle toward allowing me to open up and better connect with people. Most of my life I've been, I wouldn't necessarily say shy, but I was labeled as shy. But it really was just like me having a lot of walls up because of just how I grew up. Like again, I grew up going to different schools every year. And it took me a while to let those walls down, to let people in. So dance pushed me to break those walls down quicker. Because when you're performing, you have to be vulnerable. When you're choreographing, you have to be vulnerable. So I learned how to be more vulnerable and to let people see me through dance. And that's also the reason why like the dance team that I co-founded with my sister and my dance sister, Chanel and Anaya, we founded CA Squared because for us, dance literally was responsible for us becoming the leaders that we are today. The acronym for CA Squared is Confidently Creating Active Achievers, because we believe dance did that for us. It gave us confidence. It helped us to see ourselves as creative leaders, and it helped us set goals and achieve them as it pertains to the creative field. But yeah, dance was definitely that thing that helped me better connect with people. Again, being a part of Elementz, I like literally stepped into a community, and within that I learned to find my voice, assert myself. I was able to grow my community and be able to accept more people by being a part of Elementz. But yeah, the people I met through Elementz, the people that I danced with, I believe that like they just opened my entire world up. Like I even tell Anaya this often, is that it's gonna sound so cheesy, but I really do think she taught me like how to love and express love like beyond like my family unit. Because again, it was always my mom and then her 4 kids. So that's what I was so used to for so long. And it wasn't that I was unable to show kindness or compassion or demonstrate love, but it was hard for me to say say the word to people that I didn't feel like I knew long enough. In my mind, there was always like, I don't know if I can like trust you. I don't know. I haven't known you long enough, so I can't like, open up to you. You can share whatever you need to share with me. You know what I mean? Like I won't say anything. I'll hold all the secrets. If you need somebody to confide in, I'm the place to do it. I'll keep it to myself and I'll offer whatever compassion is necessary. But it was very, very difficult for me to be able to express myself to other people or let people in or be vulnerable and tell people how I really felt. But being a part of the team definitely changed that. Meeting people and gaining friendships and then ultimately sisterhoods with people like Anaya is how I feel like I am why I am the way I am today, where I'm so my arms are open way wider now. Because I just learned how to be able to be the example first, show vulnerability first, so that other people can do that too.
Yeah,
so
that's a beautiful thing.
I hope I answered the question.
No, you did. And, it's we just flowing at this point. And I love that. I love that. I mean, what I'm hearing is that you are a connector. And vulnerability, it happens to be a superpower of yours. Wow. I mean, what do you mean just being at Elementz? Now, hold on. Let's kind of backtrack a little bit, because the people don't even really know what Elementz is. Like, we over here talking about Elementz.
Yeah,
let's go back before we get all deep. Talk to us about what Elementz is, what it represents, and what it is before we start, jumping in the rabbit hole.
I think that's appropriate.
Yeah, for sure.
Elementz is a really special place. It is Cincinnati's premier hip-hop cultural arts center. It was founded in the early 2000s following the civil unrest after the death of Timothy Thomas, who was shot by a police officer in Over the Rhine. So during that time, Over the Rhine was heavily over-policed, and there were a lot of issues that residents face concerning the over-policing. So after Timothy Thomas was killed, there was unrest, and community activists at the time wanted to create solutions to help the community. One solution was called Cop Watch, where they actually gave camcorders to residents of Over the Rhine to document police interactions. This is before smartphones, so they actually gave physical camcorders to people. And the other solution was specifically for young people, teens, the most vulnerable group. They wanted to create an after-school program that would allow for a positive outlet, a safe space for young people to go during those vulnerable after-school hours. So Elementz was created as a makeshift studio in a basement, and then 20 years later, it's a full-fledged cultural arts center offering hip-hop art programming and all the tenets of hip-hop. So that's DJing, rapping, graffiti, hip-hop dance. There's a fifth element called knowledge of self, which encompasses all those things, and our social emotional development helps cover that within all our programming. But we also have other programming that branches off from those basic tenets, which are videography, poetry, spoken word, creative writing. I feel like I'm missing something. Studio E, which allows young people, not just like school-aged people either, adults too, to be able to come and record music and things like that. And we also help to amplify the voices of local artists here in Cincinnati through special initiatives. So that's Elementz in a nutshell.
Wow, that's beautiful. I didn't even know all that myself. It's really dope what you guys do. You know, I love, you know, the fact that there's a space, you know, for us, you know what I mean, and for teens to come in and, you know, and a space for them to share their voice, man, you know, using the elements, you know what I mean? You know, so being there, you know, what are some of the things you do there, and how do you show up? You mentioned vulnerability, you mentioned love. These are the ingredients. You know, you're a connector. You know, you show up as love, you show up as vulnerability. You know, with vulnerability. What are some things that you do there, and you know, what's the vision for you personally?
So at Elementz, I do have like a title. Okay. I won't say like a title. I do have a title. But the thing is never the thing. Right, the thing is never the thing.
Yeah, the thing is never the thing.
Because we wear so many hats. We're a small staff. But officially, I'm the senior manager of advancement, and the creative futures co-manager. But I essentially help coordinate programming, connect, you know, the necessary dots so that we can bring Elementz programming into schools and rec centers, and host workshops and things like that, and present, you know, performances, but also help write grants for Elementz, all types of things. Like, we really wear all the hats. The small staff, there's only 5 of us, and 3 of us are Elementz alum. So yeah, like I said, it's a really special place because, you know, like the people that like help lead it really know the DNA of Elementz, and that's always been the case too. All the leadership we've had throughout the course of Elementz's existence have been heavily involved in either leading programming or actually being like a student of programming, or have like years-long relationships with people in the community that have expertise and were brought in because of a friend of a friend of a friend, a word of mouth, and they were connected with Elementz for years. So that's like Elementz is really great at like making sure the people that are involved like stay involved. Like I was telling you earlier, I feel like Elementz will always be a part of my life. Like no matter if I leave the city, I feel like I'm always gonna find some way to support Elementz somehow, because it really is a community. It's a family. Once you're in the Elementz fold, you're in it forever. Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing. I love that. I love the work you do.
Thank you. So
now we get back to deep stuff. So you do all these things in the community. You make these contributions. But I want to get back to the artist of you, the person of you. Your spirit itself. One thing that I feel like maybe it does, but I don't hear about it often from others, is your poetry. We know that you're a dancer. That's what you do. You know what I mean? You dance, but you have words that move people.
Thank you.
Talk a little bit about your writing, and how do you balance the two? What do you want to do with poetry? Does it go with your dance? Just tell us a little bit about your art. You know what I mean? And how you like to show up in that space.
I appreciate you asking about that, because that's something I've always sort of, I don't want to say struggled with, but definitely it's always in the back of my mind. Like, how much energy do I give to either? Because poetry,
it's great. It's good stuff, by the way. I love your poetry.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. But go ahead, I'm listening.
But it started like around the time when I was like really, tapping into dance. Like Eden Grove, I wrote my first poem, like my first like real poem. I was in the 5th grade, and I remember that moment. And I always have been an avid reader since I was a little kid. I've always loved reading books. But I remember, like you get assignments in school, and you write reports and things like that. And I would write reports, and I'm such a nerd. I would always like raise my hand to read like the paragraph in school, or like raise my hand to read like my report out loud. Okay. I just love doing stuff like that. Yeah. But I remember this one assignment we were given was to write a poem about something. And I don't know, but like that really spoke to me. And I remember reading that poem, and and it was like well received. And I remember reading it to my mom like after school, like when I got home, and she was like, "Oh my God, da, 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 da." And it wasn't necessarily that she affirmed the poem or anything. I think it was more so the fact that the act of writing it just did something to me, and I've been writing poetry ever since. But again, I didn't think anything of it. I was just like doing whatever, especially when you're like, I've noticed throughout my creative career as it pertains to poetry that I would find myself just sort of like writing when it was like expected of me. So I went to I'll go back. When I was in high school, my senior year of high school, I remember you're figuring out what you want to do, what you want to study in college. And I remember being asked like, what do you want to study? They didn't say it like that. What do you want to study? But essentially that was the question. And I was like, I think I want to study English because I really loved it. And this was Sister Janet. She ran this really phenomenal program in the school, and she's such an amazing woman. But she connected me with one of the English teachers at the high school that I went to, Purcell Marion, because he is a published author. She's like, I'm going to connect you with the teacher so you can talk to him about like what that looks like and just get advice. And I was like, well, thank you. Like, Sister Janet, I love that. And I remember meeting with him, and he didn't do anything wrong, but his perspective on like studying English was just something that I just couldn't get down with. He essentially was just sort of like, no, don't major in it, like major in a field that you can make money in and things like, we hear that all the time as artists, like, that's not smart. We get it, right? We hear all types of stuff. We hear all types of stuff. Yeah. And I just remember being there, like listening, taking it all in, like, not saying anything back, but just taking it all in, clocking everything, and being like, by the end of it, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. And I remember just coming to the conclusion myself, like, there's truth to what he's saying. So don't just completely, like block it out, because it's coming from a real place. And there's validity there. But I also felt like he was coming from like a defeatist mindset. Of course. And I was kind of like, I hear you. Like, this is me to myself. Like, I hear what you're saying, and I'm gonna like, I respect that. I'm gonna take it in. I'm gonna like process all that. But I still wanna like, I'm gonna study the thing that I have a passion in. Yeah. So what I did was, because like I said, there's truth to what he was saying. I decided to major in psychology, because at that time I was taking AP Psych, and I was like, I love the class. I was excelling in the class. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to major in Psych, but I'm going to minor in English. So yeah, when I got to college, that's what I did. That was my plan. So instead of just being completely like throwing it aside and abandoning that passion, I just decided, let's just reroute it or do it a little differently, but still make sure it's a part of your life. Because what he said held weight. And, just live your own life, but kind of like keep all the advice of all the people in your mind, and then you let it guide your life, but don't let it let their decision making completely consume you. So anyway, I minored in English, but what I started to quickly realize in college was that there was so much synergy in psychology and English, because I was writing papers all the time. So I'm like, I need the expertise that I'm gaining in writing for the psychology, and the insight I'm gaining in psychology about behaviors and the mind, I can then take into my writing. So there's so much like they were just literally moving like this, and I loved it. Like, I loved my college experience, just based off of how much the things just sort of like worked together so beautifully. They were so interwoven, in my opinion. And then my freshman year, I had a teacher stopped me, and this wasn't an English teacher. They stopped me and said, like, are you studying English? And I said, or they asked me if I was majoring in it. And I said, I'm actually minoring in it. And they were like, no, you need to make this your major. I was like, well, thank you. So again, I'm taking it all in. Like, I clock it and I process it. And I said, you know what? Why not just do both? Why not just have two majors? So I made English a major too, and it definitely increased my workload even more. But I'm so glad that I did that. I'm so glad that I had teachers, even the teacher in high school that said, don't do it. I'm so glad I had teachers like that offering their advice so that I could make like the most informed decision. And I was able to graduate with 2 degrees on time too, but it was a lot of work. But again, it was such a welcome challenge. I felt so energized by it all because I was just able to do both things that I really had a passion for. And like I said, they worked so well together. I didn't feel like I was taking too much time away from like psychology to focus on English because I don't know, like I was doing so much reading in both, doing so much writing in both, and they both sort of informed the other. So, yeah. Oh, okay. Let me get back to my other point. Yeah. I found myself in college though, mostly writing for class. You know, like you have assignments, and which is fine. But when I graduated college, I had to sort of sit with myself and be like, okay, most of the poems that I've written were for classes, and to be honest, they were written for a certain audience. And so when I graduated and had to like really deal with life outside of school and what that looked like, I had to like really confront myself and like my own voice and what that sounds like, because I really didn't know what it sounded like. And even to this day, I feel like there's still so much for me to say and ways for me to say it, but graduating college made me sort of like look at myself and say like, who are you really writing for? Are you writing for other people, or are you writing for yourself? And the moment I started to ask myself that question, I believe is when I started to unlock something. And being a part of Elementz and meeting people connected to Elementz granted me beautiful opportunities to step up to the plate and to give myself the opportunity to find an answer to that question, like, who am I really writing for? Because I would do that. I would kind of be like, I think these people want to hear this, so I'll write something that I think people want to hear. But I was going further and further away from what I wanted to say at times. There were moments where I would see like a splash of light where I would write something that was super, super personal. But I would be like nervous to share it because I'm like, this is Camille like on this page. Like, am I ready for the people to see?
That's the power right
exactly. There. Am I ready for people to see that? Like, I was able to conquer that a little bit with dance in a different form, but with like writing, it was like, it felt even more like I was being exposed. But I had to do it. And so I saw glimpses of that. Some moments in college, but out of college, I got to like really sort of explore my voice. And I feel like I'm still finding it, but I definitely feel that now I'm not so much like overly concerned with like writing for what I believe people want to hear. But yeah, that's where I am with it as of now.
You're such a generator. Like, I mean, for someone to get up and want to move their body and be connected to like their body in that way is crazy to me. Like, it doesn't even make sense in my brain. But to be able to generate that type of movement, and then also be able to generate words, and to be able to want to generate, energy in our community. You know what I mean? I know you say you're still finding your voice, but it sounds like you're really tapped into it. Wow. You know what I mean? That's what it sounds like. But of course, you know better than I do. You know what I mean? But it's interesting. How do you what is the driving force? What is the why? You know, why do you get up and continue to want to generate, to continue to want to move your body, you know, continue to want to write and to want to express yourself? Like what keeps you going, and you know, what is your message? What are you trying to radiate when you're doing this? And it doesn't even have to be anything. It could be just love, and you just living in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I honestly don't see myself. I feel like I'm incapable of like not being creative. Like I really feel like, yeah, I don't see myself.
Wow. Like
not being creative in some capacity. The thought of me like not being able to like, yeah, like just create something like from my mind and bring it to life. Feels like death. Like it feels like torture almost. Yeah. Like even the thought of like having to work jobs that are so far removed from like the like creativity feels torturous.
Oh, I know it. Yeah.
And that's just how my brain works. I know for a lot of people, there's peace in spaces like that where like a controlled setting, like this is what you do, and or this is how I operate. From this time to this time, this is what I do, and like there's peace in that, there's comfort in that. But my brain just doesn't work like that. Yeah. Like I really like, I don't know. I have to have like that. You said like the energy. I have to have like the energy. I have to be able to, just be able to let the creativity out. Because otherwise I don't think I would be able to show up as my best self. The moments where I've felt like I really feel like in my body like I'm off is when I know I haven't like written in a long time or like made up choreography in a while. Like I can feel it. Like if it's been too long and I haven't like done something creatively, I feel myself off. Like the world may not see it as that, but I feel like my equilibrium is just kind of it's not quite where it should be. So yeah, it's just it's just a part of me. And I pray that I live a full life, a long life where I'm able to be a creative, an artist, and that's what I sustain myself off of. And obviously doing work that I care about within the community, to help other people amplify their voices and to find their voices, because that really means a lot to me. But yeah, I don't, my why is just who I am. It really is just who I am. Yeah.
So powerful, so powerful. I want to dive a little deeper. You know, because you are a person that is connected. Now, there are people who do find comfort and safety in the security of, you know, something, and I won't even call it regular. I won't call it normal. It's just what they do. Right. But there are people who may not have had the community or the connections to tap into that voice, to tap into that creativity, to find these spaces. You know, and it's rough, you know what I mean? It's hard to get that. Yeah. How do you like to show up for people who, do you recognize that in other people who feel disconnected from their body? And you know, how do you like to show up in that space of people who are trying to find it? You know, because you work in that space. You know what I mean? Do you see people, young people who are missing that, who are trying to find, I'm looking for answers, and how do you like to show up when you see people in that area?
That's a beautiful question. I believe that afflicts not just young people, but older adults too. As you were speaking, I immediately thought of like my mom, because I believe like her, the younger self inside her, that creative child inside her, like those wings were clipped really young. And for her, I believe, and we've talked about this all the time, she sort of resigned herself to a certain life and what it would look like. And that also was a life that she finds comfort in, but I know that she had dreams and she had aspirations that she felt that she had to abandon. because of different circumstances. And I believe that's also why she worked so hard to champion all the things that me and my siblings wanted to do, especially me and my sister, because we were privileged to be able to explore the most, I think, in our family dynamic. But yeah, when you talk about showing up, I think about my mom. I immediately thought about my mom, because even to this day, I like encourage her, like I buy her journals and like just write. Like, I know you have stories to tell, and she's a storyteller. I come from a long line of storytellers. Yeah. That's like one of our favorite pastimes as a family, is to just like talk and to share. Yeah. So I'm like, write down the things that you're feeling like even now, because that's therapeutic, that's cathartic, and that's healing. So I think that's one way that I show up is to just to identify those things, because I think I listen. I think I listen pretty well, and I love to do that. So when people open up to me, I listen very intently, and I sort of like work to discern what may be behind the things that they're saying, what they're not saying, within the things that they're sharing with me. And my mom is one of those people, and I encourage her to this day to just write. And I encourage her to move her body, to dance. Like, most times it's playful, but there's still an exercise in the play that I think is really healing and important. But yeah, I really just, I don't know, I guess I look to sort of nurture and massage like the parts of people that they believe has sort of like disappeared, but is really always present. Like I was telling someone the other day, I don't think the dreams you have ever go away. I think they just sort of retreat to a place in your mind, and you sort of like leave it there. So I think I work to do that. Like once I can get somebody talking and just listen, I can sort of be like, okay, well, tell me more about that, and like encourage it and massage it and help like strengthen it, and then hopefully we can get to a place where we can like embark on something like an actual task. Like, okay, well, it sounds like you wanted to dance, and maybe you felt embarrassed at one point in your life, and you felt like, no, I'm never going to dance. But like maybe today, like in this class, I can get you to like just move a little bit, and then a person will discover a passion that they thought had long gone away, and it really was always there, but it wasn't encouraged.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's
No
so
problem.
beautiful.
Thank you for asking.
Of course, one thing I want to ask, because like, you know, it popped up when you were talking, is, you know, because I mean, you're in a place like Elementz, and you're working with young people, and you're experiencing these connections. You're tapped into community. You know, I feel like, I don't want to assume, but I assume that you have a pulse on like on the community. You know what I mean? Yeah, for sure. And you know, what gaps do you want to fill? Because we always see that we see parts, we see things that are empty, and you know, we want to pour a little more.
Right.
That needs a little more. That needs a little more. What gaps are you looking forward to filling in the future? Great
question. I never want to assume I know exactly what's going on or what people are thinking, because
you're a pulse.
Yeah, right. I definitely do not. I'm learning stuff, new stuff all the time, every single day, which is a beautiful thing. But from what I've noticed, I do believe that what would be very helpful is if people had, I don't want to say there's a lack of resources. I do think we have resources. I think maybe there's a lack of awareness about the resources available to people, creatives especially, who have ideas that they want to get off the ground. There are so many creative minds here in this city alone, with so much talent, so many amazing ideas. And I hear about them because a lot of times people will come to me and tell me about them and share them with me. And I work really hard to help facilitate however I can and connect dots and things like that. But there are also I just learned in that over time that just people just don't know. Like if you're, like I say this all the time, if you're not tapped into the artist community here, you really don't know what's going on. You do not know what's going on. Because
there is nothing, like there's no website.
Exactly.
That's saying like, you know, this is all, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
like you really just have to be in the know.
Yeah.
And for so many people who aren't in the know, they feel lost.
Yeah.
And that really breaks my heart. So I think that that's something, just making, and I don't even know what that looks like necessarily, because I know like organizations like Wordplay, Elementz, so many amazing organizations doing amazing work here in the city are working really hard to broaden their reach and to connect with more people. But I don't know, maybe it's the nature of like nonprofits, or, you know, not having like all the resources ourselves to have make our voices the loudest, you know?
I hear that.
Yeah, but I would say that like maybe what's needed is just people just knowing what's going on. And I don't even know what that looks like really, because I feel like we've all searched for in so many different ways how to make our presence more known.
Yeah, man. I actually had a conversation with my homegirl about that the other day. We were just talking, and, you know, I was telling her about certain things, and she was just like, well, I didn't even know that was going on. I didn't even know that we had a underground such scene. I was just like, really? Yeah. You know, so that I think that is a gap that needs to be filled. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't know how, you know, but thank you for bringing awareness to that. I'm going to begin to close it out, but I want to end it with this. I want to get into the person a little more. You know, like I said earlier, you're a spiritual person. You just talked about just finding balance recently. You just went on a little trip. How are you showing up for yourself? You show up for community a lot. You show up for people. You show up for others. You show up for your dance crew. You show up for your art. You show up for your craft. How are you showing up for your spirit lately? And what are some tools? What are some things that you're doing, man, to kind of just find balance and, you know, to just step away for Camille?
Ooh. No, that's a wonderful question. I'm really grateful you asked. Yeah. I feel like I'm just now getting to like a good rhythm concerning finding like balance and maintaining peace within myself. Like I said, a lot of people won't notice when I feel like off a little bit, but I know. And I dealt with that like feeling of being off or not fully feeling fully secure in my own body, and the way that I look, and all these things is just sort of like causing like mayhem in my mind for so long, for so many years. And I feel like just in the last year or so, and really by probably this year, for real, I'm feeling like I'm finally getting to a good I'm at a good like pace, like I have my routine. Like I wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is like get on my knees and pray. And that's been something that has like been a real anchor that I didn't even know that I was like missing. And I feel like it's not even that it's just the prayer, is that there's the intentionality behind it.
That part.
Because I prayed since I was a kid. I would pray going to sleep. I would pray in my bed, head on my pillow, I'm praying because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. But it's a different thing when you're like, oh no, like I intend to do this for a deeper reason than just expectation. Yeah, like crazy, right? Yeah. Like I really felt like to really tap into my source, like the source was I had to develop new practices. Yeah. So like
we talking.
I'm like, I'm getting on my knees and I'm praying every single morning, and that's one step. And then and I know that's all God working too. Like my path was designed for a reason, the way that it was. And I feel like now at this stage in my life, I really feel like I'm just, like I found a good pace. I'm connecting to the source more. I'm connecting with myself more and in a healthier manner. because I dealt with just personal struggles for so long, and thinking about it now, I'm like, what headspace was I in that I couldn't see a way out? Like now I feel like I have so much clarity, but like just years ago, I if you were talking to me like 2-3 years ago, I would still be sort of like concealing so much of myself and struggling with like sharing the ugly parts of myself that I would be so afraid to like expose, and what people would think and things like that. And I felt so fragile back then. I don't feel as fragile anymore. But yeah, other things that I do, like I've always been like I just love like moving my body, and now like consistently like I make sure to like work out throughout the week outside of just dancing, like being able to sweat doing something that isn't a part of like what I do as a career does something different. It's like just a different thing to me now. And then simple things like going for walks. I love going for walks. Like I literally, that's one of my favorite things to do. I'll go on the long walks, like for
just
the
unplug,
longest. Just unplug and just walk. And now I can do it because the weather is much nicer. But that's another way that I show up for myself and work to maintain that peace. Because all I can control is like myself, how I react to things. So if I can develop certain practices that always sort of like, you know, keep me cool. I'm naturally like a pretty calm person, but the practices that help my mind, that keep my mind from like going all over the place, has helped and has allowed me to like show up better for Camille. Because I'm the only one that can really do that. Like, of course, I have amazing, you know, people like you in my life who check in and we have wonderful conversations. But like, I have to make sure like that voice in my mind is that the negative voice in my mind doesn't override like the real Camille, like the real voice that wants me to thrive and that wants me to speak positively to myself, to speak life into myself. So those are the things that I do to show up for myself.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That's such a beautiful thing. It sounds like you're on a similar path, we're on a similar wavelength. Like, it's a good friend of mine. She actually sent me a book the other day called No Bad Parts. Just about like, you know, people talk about people with multiple personalities and things like that, but there are people who actually have mental health issues. But also we do have parts of us that show up. We have these parts that we consider ugly, or you know, but it's all us, and we have to just accept that. You know, and so it sounds like that you're in that space of acceptance and accepting you for who you are. And you're a wonderful, beautiful person.
Thank
you know what I'm saying?
Brandon.
You know,
so are you.
I appreciate the light and dark. You know what I mean? So
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Camille, for coming through and sharing with us, and also thank you again for your contribution to our community and the ways you show up. You know, and thank you for how you show up for yourself. Thank yourself. You know what I mean? And we just appreciate you, man, and keep doing all the beautiful things that you're doing. Is there any last words, anything you want to share, you know, to the community, anything you want to get off, where you at, you know, you got the floor.
Ooh, okay. What do I want to say? My final words. I would just say, every day is a victory. So, you know, give yourself grace to all those people who are struggling just to get out of bed some days. It's a victory to be able to just take that first step and to shower, to, you know, to get out of the door, to dress yourself, to get out of the door, to go to work, even if you may like be thinking to yourself, I hate this job. Like every day is a victory. Facts. And you're powerful. So keep trying and look for those spots of light that show up in your life, those sweet moments, those joyful moments, and look for those positive people to be your anchor, and then hopefully you can be the anchor for somebody else. And thank you, Brandon. This is awesome.
Of course.
I'm so honored to be here.
Of course. I'm thankful that you came out. I'm thankful that we finally got to sit down and talk. You know, we've talked before, we've hung out a few times, but you know, it's just dope to really just tap in. You know, really just sit back and just hear your story and where you come from, and you know what made you become who you are. And you're still growing, still evolving, but you know, it's just good to know, like, you know, the person that I see every day show up in these spaces, and just to hear you speak and share your story. So that was a beautiful thing.
Oh, thank you
for sharing. Thank you for sharing, for sure. It's been another episode of The Village where we tell stories about people in our community doing amazing, great things. You heard it from Camille. You heard about her spirituality, and you know, reasons why we should just get up and just tap in with our spirit in the morning. Just a quick check in with self and pray. You know, I need to do more of that. You know, I've been trying to get up and stretch in the morning. You know what I mean? Just,
though, yeah.
Oh my God! Every morning I try to stretch. You know, just get up, just stretch out just a little bit.
Right.
You know, so. Thank you for those reminders, and you know, reminding us to get back into our bodies and our spirits, and be vulnerable and show up as love. So thank you, Camille. This is another episode of The Village. Tap in. We got more coming soon, and yeah, we out. Peace.
Hey.